23rd of February, and let's just try and see if we can get any news for today. My phone is currently loading, just a little bit. From Global News, Canada wins gold, silver in women's ski cross at 2018 Winter Olympics. Canada's Kelsey Serwa and Brittany Fallon took home gold and silver in the women's ski cross event at the 2018 Winter Olympics in South Korea on Friday. Serwa and Fallon took 1-2 spots ahead of Fanny Smith of Switzerland, who finished third for the bronze medal. More is to come, and that is the end of damn it. Winter Olympics 2018, who took home women's figure skating medal. From TV Line. If you thought Tonya was the most dramatic few hours of women's figure skating you'd see in 2018, the Winter Olympics set out to beat that record on Thursday night. The 18-year-old Russian competitor Evangeline Medvedeva was expected to dominate the Pyeongchang. She finished Wednesday's short program in second place behind 15-year-old teammate Alina Sagitova, which young woman finished Thursday's free skate at the podium. At the end, Sagitova eked out a win over Medvedeva, earning gold with a score of 237.57. Medvedeva nabbed silver with a score of 238.26. And Canada's Caitlin Osmond, who had finished the short program in third place, received bronze. But the rivalry between Russia's top two figure skaters played out until the final seconds of the broadcast after finishing an emotional routine inspired by Anna Karenina. Medvedeva sobbed as gifts were tossed onto the ice and looked a bit shell-shocked when it was announced that she had not surpassed Sagitova. But even though the figure skating medals have now been awarded, we still have a few extra superlatives we'd like to go out for taking the ladies' routine. Most heartbreaking performance when quite a few women stumbled on ice Thursday, but it was Canada's Gabrielle Daleman who had the roughest go of all. After first faltering on triple combination, and then when she's known for acing, Daleman fell down on her next 4 jumps, each one seeming to rattle her a bit more. As soon as the music stopped, the 20-year-old burst into tears, and who could really blame her? Most adorable spectator, as Belgium's Leona Hendricks glided onto the ice to begin her performance, brother Jorik, who also competed in figure skating in Pyeongchang, was so nervous to watch his sibling. He couldn't even look at her until a routine had already started. With all due respect to the Shibsibs, this might have been the cutest brother-sister moment in the Gwanung Ice Arena. Sweetest flashback: just before the United States of America's Brady Tennell began skating the selection from Cinderella soundtrack, we were treated to a precious childhood photo of Tennell dressed up as the iconic Disney princess. The 20-year-old ended up taking a few tumbles during her performance, but I like to think Prince Charming would forgive those. Her skates are much more complicated than glasses offers after all. Most appropriate music. She may not have ended the evening with a medal, but South Korea's Kim Ha-nul skated to some seriously relevant music. Selections from Mamma Mia, including the All Too That Winter Takes It All those lyrics about judges and victors when falling, spot on. Best costume. Though there was no shortage of stunning and bedazzled costumes on the ice during the free skate, my vote for fiercest costume goes to commentators Tara Lipinski and Johnny Weir, who were appropriately decked out in head-to-toe gold for the medal event. Most relatable commentary. Speaking of lip-syncing and Weir and co-commentator Terry Gannon, the three of them were instantly transformed from professional sportscasters to giddy figure skating fans, as they were anxiously awaiting the scores of Medvedev's performance. I can't look. Weird guess, I can't lip sync, he replied, even though we couldn't see Gannon's face when he realised that Medvedeva had only managed a silver. I can't imagine his jaw on the floor mirroring every other view watching from home. And all opinions from Rebecca Lanucci from the TV line. Moving on. From the Evening Standard, ex-Save the Children boss Justin Forsyth quits over inappropriate behaviour allegations. Former Save the Children chief has resigned from UNICEF following allegations of inappropriate behaviour. Justin Forsyth has already apologised unreservedly to 3 female workers after they complained about his conduct while he works for Save the Children. He is accused of sending inappropriate texts and admitted making some personal mistakes. He said he is stepping down as Deputy Executive Director of UNICEF because of the dangers of damaging both charities. Mr. Forsyth was twice subject to investigation at Save the Children after concerns were raised about his conduct in 2011 and again in 2015 involving 3 women. The charity has since apologised to female employers, admitting their claims were not properly dealt with at the time. In a statement on Thursday, he said, "With heavy heart, I am today tendering my resignation to UNICEF as Deputy Executive Director. I want to make clear I am not resigning from UNICEF because of the mistakes I've made at Save the Children. They were dealt with through a proper process many years ago. I apologised unreservedly at the time, and face to face I apologise again. There is no doubt in my mind that some of the coverage around me is not just to rightly hold me to account, but also to attempt to do serious damage to our cause at the case of aid. I am resigning because of the danger of damaging both UNICEF and Save the Children and our wider cause, 2 organisations I truly love and cherish. I can't let this happen." The disclosure came after Brendan Cox, the widow of murdered MP Joe Cox, admitted that he made mistakes and behaved in a way that caused some women hurt and offence. when he was working at Save the Children. Mr. Cox and Mr. Forsyth had previously worked together at 10 Downing Street under Gordon Brown. End of article. Now the second one's about Russia and doping, as usual. From The Guardian. Second Russian athlete tests positive for doping at Winter Olympics. Nadezhda Sergeeva, who finished 12th in the two-woman bobsleigh, has become second Russian to test positive for a banned substance at the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang. According to the reports in the Russian media, the substance involved was trimethazidine, a stimulant usually used in treating patients suffering from angina. The disclosure of another positive doping comes 24 hours after Russian curler Alexander Koshchensky was stripped of an Olympic bronze medal. The news will heap further pressure on the International Olympic Committee, who will meet on Saturday to decide whether the Russian team will be allowed to march under their own flag at Sunday's closing ceremony. As things stand, the Russian Olympic Committee is banned, although 168 of the country's athletes have been competing in Pyeongchang. Under Olympic athletes from Russia banner, Alexander Zubkov, president of the Russian Bobsleigh Federation, confirmed Sergeeva's positive test to Russian newspaper Sport Express. Zubkov said the 30-year-old Sergeeva, who finished second in the European Championships in Winterberg earlier this year with Nadezhda Pavlova, was tested negative in an out-of-competition test on February 13th but returned positive test 5 days later. Sergeeva was also among several Russians who tested positive for melandium in 2016 after it was put on the World Anti-Doping Banned list. However, she was cleared after WADA adopted an amnesty for international athletes who had a low dose. It is believed that 30-year-old Sergeeva tested positive at Pyeongchang after ingesting banned substance in a nose spray. Trimethazidine is the same drug that China's 3-day-time Olympic swimming champion Sun Yang tested positive for in 2014 and served a secret 3-month ban. Zubkov claimed that Sergeeva had tested negative in an out-of-competition test on February 13th but resumed a positive test 5 days later. Earlier this week, Russian coach Sergei Baranov said he believed that Koshchensky had been framed. It was stupid to use a single dose of melandium, he said. It does not work that way. The drug needs a course to restore a heart muscle. He added, "We live in a hotel in the Olympic Village. Every day a person of 5 passes through the door rooms without us. There comes housekeeping and completely different people. The grandmothers sweeping the floor, the young guys and girls indoors dressing, bring towels to change, replace a bottle with another, and with the contaminated substance, yes, it is easy." He called the Russian Olympic Committee to consider isolating all of its athletes in future to stop further sabotage. He drew a strange parallel with Koshchensky's case and chemical attacks in Syria. "I have a complete analogy with what is happening in Syria with chemical attacks," Balanov said. "How is it organized there? The gang covered by the US Army brings chlorine and infects territory. Then the guys in white arrive. They take off this nonsense primitively and rudely. Where it is clear, then everything is sewn with white thread." Moving on. That was the end of the article. police appeared to punish victims of Newcastle grooming gangs with review fines. Grooming gangs have preyed on 700 women and girls in northeast England, acted with arrogant persistence after police were seen to be punished. Showing the victims for their situation, a serious case review has found. The report of the retired barrister David Spicer into the response by authorities in Newcastle to child sexual exploitation concluded that victims received effective protection after the launch of Northumbria Police investigation in January 2014. Before that, however, the force's actions lacked consistently and had little impact, it said. 17 men and 1 woman were jailed last year, being a part of a network that plied 22 women and girls aged 13 to 25 with drinks and drugs before sexually assaulting them between 2011 and 2014. The trials were a result of Northumbria Police investigation Operation Shelter, part of a larger Operation Sanctuary, the force's investigation into the sexual exploitation of vulnerable children and adults. The report said Sanctuary had identified 700 victims in the force's area. Perpetrators have received a total of 429 years and 3 months in prison as a part of the operation. Addressing the response from authorities before 2014, the report said perpetrators were not consistently investigated, detated or interviewed. Historical information was not routinely accessed, and incidents were treated as separate occurrences with no strategy to pull information together to improve understanding of the whole picture, it said. While perpetrators were not punished or disputed, attempts to persuade victims to change behaviours and not return to the abuses led to consideration of deterrent punishments of victims for being drunk and disorderly or making false allegations. When accounts were changed, some victims were placed in secure accommodation. This sent an unhelpful message to perpetrators. They were unlikely to be prosecuted or prevented from continuing to abuse, encouraging an arrogant persistence. It also had a significant impact on victims who learned that nothing would be done against perpetrators. The report highlights the stark contrast between the approach taken before and after early 2014, when a Northumbria Police investigation was first launched, but it stressed as many of the reasons. My phone is helpful, as it somehow brought up Google Plus and not done anything to kind of... The report highlighted the stark contrast between the approach taken before and after early 2014, when a Northumbria Police investigation was first launched, but I stressed that many of the reasons identified for lack of action in reviews in other cities, including ignoring whistleblowers and members of the public or families, lack of compassion or empathy, misplaced concerns about political correctness and fears of allegations of racism did not occur in Newcastle. However, add practitioners did feel that early sponsors had the appearance of blaming the victims for their behaviour and allocating responsibilities for making bad choices. I'm going to say end of part 1, I'll continue in part 2. Part 2. Continue with the article in part 1, and here goes. The report detailed victims' accounts of sexual abuse after being drugged. I have never had sex when I was sober. One victim told Spicer, I wanted to leave. I was given drink. I kept saying no and fighting them off. I was very tired and fell asleep. When I woke up, I had been raped. I didn't think what was happening was wrong, said another. I thought they were my friends. They bought me drink and drugs. I thought I was okay because of my family, and then it became more sinister, different. There were parties with men a lot older, 30-40, when previously 20-21. The situation in Newcastle has clear similarities in grooming scandals in other cities across the UK, in which gangs of British Asian men abused white girls. A report in the Times in 2012 was the first claim that gang rape and trafficking were widespread in Rotherham. A subsequent investigation a report in the Times 2012 was the first claim that gangs found it. A subsequent investigation by former Chief Inspector of Social Work, Professor Alex J., concluded in August 2014 that failures of political and police leadership contributed to sexual exploitation of 1,400 children in the town over 16 years. So just under 100 a day, roughly. Despite a serious case review into Operation Shelter was commissioned by Newcastle's social services in May. 4 criminal trials that resulted from police investigation took 3 years to conclude. During the final trial in the Operation Shelter investigation last year, the court had heard an off-duty probation officer had called the police after seeing one of the defendants, a convicted sex offender, pushing drunk girls into a car in 2011. After a visit to the man's house, the police log of the incident said there was nothing to suggest there was anything untoward. Speaking at the press conference after the publication of the report, Darren Best, the temporary deputy... Go away, Google+. I do not need you now. Speaking to a press conference at the publication of the report, Darren Best, the temporary deputy chief constable of Northumbria Police, admitted that the incident had been a missed opportunity. During the trials, the court heard that Northumbria Police had paid a convict child rapist $9,680 over 21 months to find out about the times and whereabouts of parties where girls were being applied drugs and alcohol in order to gather evidence for their investigation. The NSPCC Children's Charity condemned the use of informants. Yeah? Yes, please. The NSPCC's Children's Charity condemned the use of the informants, saying it raised serious questions about the force's approach to child sexual exploitation operations. The police argued it would not have been possible to uncover the crimes in Operation Shelter using conventional methods. Spicer's report touched only briefly on the use of a paid informant, saying the chief constable had acknowledged that this carried risk but emphasised that sexual exploitation involves thinking outside the box. Spicer, a former chair at the British Association for the Study of and Prevention of Child Abuse and Neglect, said other towns and cities could learn from Newcastle's response. He said, unlike some other areas, Newcastle agencies did not try and sweep this under the carpet, but actively went looking for it, and as a result, a large number of perpetrators were arrested and prosecuted, and victims saved from further trauma. That is not to say that lessons have not been learned. Spicer said a striking feature of the Newcastle case was that it identified adults with vulnerabilities as victims of grooming. End of article. Trump Florida school officer didn't have the courage. God damn it, Trump. An armed officer who stood outside a Florida school where the gunman killed 17 people last week certainly did a poor job, said President Donald Trump says. Deputy Scott Peterson resigned after an investigation found he failed to confront the suspect. Mr. Trump said Mr. Peterson might be a coward who didn't react properly under pressure. Florida's governor, meanwhile, called for law enforcement officers to be placed in every public school in the state. What did Trump say? Speaking to respond to protesters outside the White House on Friday morning, President Trump criticized a police officer who did not confront the perpetrator of the February 14th massacre in Parkland, Florida. He trained his whole life, but when it came time to do something, he didn't have the courage, he said. He certainly did a poor job. But that's the case where somebody was outside their training. They didn't react properly under pressure, or they were a coward, he added. The Republican president later found his love of guns right on Friday at a conservative political action conference, CPAC, in Maryland. Again, he proposed arming teachers as a solution to school safety, a method long championed by the National Rifle Association and NRA gun lobby. What did the officer do? Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel revealed on Thursday that Mr. Peterson, the 59-year-old school resource officer, stood outside while the alleged gunman shot students at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. He said video footage showed Mr. Peterson arriving at the building where the shooting broke out about 90 seconds after the first shots were fired, and he remained outside all for about 4 minutes. The attack lasted 6 minutes, Sheriff Israel said. I am devastated, sick to my stomach. He never went in, Sheriff Israel said. Asked what Mr. Peterson should have done, Sheriff Israel said. Went and addressed a killer. Mr. Peterson is not yet to publicly comment on what happened. Officers are reportedly guarding his home. It is unclear if he will face charges. The suspect using a semi-automatic AR-15 rifle, police say, and escaped the scene for being captured later. What was Deputy Peterson's role? School resource officers are sworn law enforcement officers who are responsible for safety and crime prevention in schools. Although their exact roles differ from school to school authority and authority to authority. Employed by the local police or sheriff's office, they document incidents and can make arrests as well as work on areas such as mentoring and education. There are between 14,000 and 20,000 such officers in the US, according to the National Association for School Resource Officers. Mr. Peterson had been in his position at school since 2009, local media reports. The Sun Sentinel newspaper said he had worked for the sheriff's office since 1985. An office record showed his salary for 2016 was $75,673 or £54,137. Were there any other failures? Concerns have been raised about the school's video surveillance system and whether the warnings about the former student changed with the massacres were ignored. It has been reported that the person watching the surveillance system was relayed information 20 minutes old to police, so officers believe the gunman was in a certain area when he was not. Calls were also being falsely made to the authorities in 2016 and 2017 expressing concerns about the suspect, including one saying he was planning to attack the school. What is Florida's governor proposing? Governor Rick Scott called for active shooting training for all students and staff at public schools in the state. He said he planned to raise Florida's minimum age for buying a gun to 21 years old. Governor Scott is also pledged to make it virtually impossible for anyone who has mental health issues to use guns. The court involuntarily commits someone because they are a risk to themselves or others. They would be required to surrender all firearms and not regain the right to purchase or possess firearms until court hearing, he said during a speech at the new proposal on guns in Tallahassee. Mr. Trump added, "What I recommend doing is people that do carry, we give them a bonus. We give them a bit of a bonus." But Randy Weingarten, president of the 1.7 million member American Federation of Teachers Union disagreed by arming teachers would be a suitable solution. Anyone who wants a gun in schools has no understanding of what goes on inside them, or worse, doesn't care, she said. End of article. This could be a lost article if it's anything interesting. Not quite there yet. Were Neanderthals the earliest cave artists? New research in Spain points to the possibility. Archaeologists pushed back the date to cave paintings at 3 sites to 65,000 years ago, 20,000 years before the arrival of humans in Europe. And it's like a really long article, and I'm not going to fit it into this. I'm not using 3 parts just to do this phone. So yeah, end of part 2. And here we go with part 3 with BBC News UK on Twitter. Labour's General Secretary Ian McNeill resigns. Sean Rigg custody death. Watchdog requests new hearing. Donald Tusk UK Brexit plan pure illusion. Suspects on toilet strike for 37 days could die. Louisa Military Festival death. Man charged with manslaughter. UK weather spring postponed as cold snaps hits UK. Luton teacher banned for telling people he is falling deeply in love. Amazing, loving and caring. Mother pays tribute to her 2 sons, Casper and Corey, aged 2 and 6, killed in suspected hit and run crash in Coventry. What would Colonel Sanders say? KFC cheeky apology for running out of chicken. Aid organisation truly sorry for sectors failing. Disbelief and discontent over rail timetable changes. 2 for Sweden, they're in the final. They're guaranteed to go away with gold or silver medal. Red Arrow death rejection seat fined 1.1 million. GB women look gutted, but there's still a bronze medal to fight for. As he lose to Sweden 10-5. Rugby rape trial, Jackson horrified by claim. Abortion UK breaches in Northern Ireland women's rights. I was not expecting that. Stephen Fry recovering from prostate cancer surgery. Arsenal have been drawn against AC Milan in the Europa League last 16. EU arsenic warning of a magnetic putty children's toy. Egypt, the place where people disappear. Operation Sanctuary View finds out abuse extensive. Prime Minister spokesman says meeting with ministers on Brexit was positive. Theresa May will make speech on Britain's future relationship with EU next Friday. There's a £10 game poker who went to Las Vegas and won $2.6 million. Electric-powered minis could be built in China. Plastic straws could ban, says Michael Gove. 15-year-old Alina Zagitova became world's youngest figure skating track champion since 1998. Complaint against charity boss Justin Forsyth was formal. BT told to share polls for ultra-fast fibre internet. Certain things NIA chief want in the pair blames following mass shooting at Florida high school. MPs debate change over law on consent for organ donation. Man arrested in Lincoln over terror offences. Camden stabbings, murders linked as teenager arrested. Between 4 and 5 people will die every single day from prescription drug errors. Jeremy Hunt tells Victoria Live about plans to reduce errors by 50% and change the NHA's blame culture. Brexit. Jeremy Hunt says UK will not stay in customs union. Damon Albarn dogs and David Davis other classic at BBC 5 Live. They could bring back British Rail as part of the renationalisation plan, with Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell promising full integration as best we can between track and train. Latest warning for next week's snow here. Royal Derby Hospital baby deaths preventable. RBS profits will increase, talk of government share sales. Represent share will price 2.282p, breaking even price for government 71% stake 525p. Drug error causes following death and harm, says Hunt. Fat Cash Academy bosses face challenge over pay. Sipping acid dip fruit teas can wear away teeth, study says. Jonathan Udall dies after Grand Canyon helicopter crash. Moving on to BBC World News. Nigerian president apologises for Boko Haram schoolgirl kidnap. Vehicle hits barrier near White House. Steve Jobs, Apple founder's 1973 job application going on sale. US to open new embassy in Jerusalem in May. Donald Tusk, UK Brexit plans pure illusion. Trump, Russia, ex-campaign aide Rick Gates pleads guilty. Bullish Trump jokes about his bald spot. No, can't really see it underneath that comb over. 30 elephants in Kenya's Lamari region are being moved to another part of the country using heavy lifting equipment. Rohingya villages destroyed to erase evidence. People agree with Kylie Jenner on Snapchat update. Doping whistleblower in Olympics warning. Serial hero Russia's shadowy Wagner mercenaries. Twitter storm over Justin Trudeau's Bhangra dance in India. Florida inmate screams and thrashes at his execution. China Hold Your Mother's Hand campaign. Pet Guardiola Manchester City manager charged for wearing political ribbon. World's fishing fleets mapped from orbit. Someone Degas painting with tourists found on a bus. The Olympic delegate accused of masterminding deadly attacks. Sprats at Sternen bombed because they wanted to play football. This is life for Afghan women's team. Now good on them for standing up and playing football. US to impose the largest North Korea sanctions. 2 people shot outside Zurich Bank. EU leaders clash over financial impact of UK's departure. Barbara Alston, singer with 60s girl group The Crystals, dies at 74. Mixed race Joan of Arc draws abuse from French far right. India Kerala mob takes selfies while lynching man. A police officer has died in Spain following violent clashes between Athletic Bilbao and Spartak Moscow fans. Our meat is recycled and sold to the poor. Why Barnaby Joyce's resignation receives a rough reception on Twitter. One French woman in 8 has been raped, study says. Children forced to watch rape in South Sudan. Winter Olympics 2018, Ivanka Trump arrives for closing ceremony. India Prime Minister Modi finally sees Canada's Trudeau. Argentina follows diplomatic luggage containing cocaine plot. Fishing continued even after East China sea oil spill. Scandal hits Australia, Deputy Prime Minister resigns. Europa League, heard that one already. Tina Fontaine, Raymond Cormier not guilty of Red River murder. Nationalism in the heart of Europe needles EU. Low-cost mini satellites bringing mobile to the world. Syria War, children struggle to survive in eastern Ghouta. Dutch MPs vote to recognise disputed Armenian genocide. Trump Russia new charges for Paul Manafort and Rick Gates. Syrian refugees in the UK, we've lost nothing but our country. Wesley Knope, NRA under fire for Parks and Rec gift. End of part 3, I think it is. 3, 4. End of video.